So this is session 1 of 4 for Sunday morning for the Gauntlet. We are playing once again a Changeling the Lost hack that I've put together, powered by the Apocalypse. It's something that I've done and run a couple of times before in a couple of iterations, and then I was fortunate enough to have Tyler and Patrick play it as well and give me some feedback. And so this is another stage along the journey to making this the game I want. It is not all of Changing the Lost. It is a game tuned to the kind of game that I dig, and we'll see that as we go along. All 4 of the players have played in Changing the Lost PbtA before in some version or another, so I think they have a sense of the tone. They know we're using the X card as our standard safety tool. If you watch this, I will probably put a link in the show notes to a view-only version of the character sheet, so you can see that has most of the rules. You can see what we've done with this. This is, again, not a proprietary thing. It is purely a fan hack, so that is what is going on with that. Please don't sue me. Also, this is part of the Gauntlet Hangouts, a monthly online gaming group. You can check out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com, or you can check out my Any award-winning blog at ageofravens.blogspot.com. Look and see how that went. All right. One thing I want to mention in terms of this isn't really a play test, but I do want everybody to keep an eye open on the moves, especially the moves within the different playbooks, for things that you're like, I don't understand, or, wow, that's a crappy one I would never take, or those kinds of things. That's the kind of sort of mechanical thing that I want to look at on this next round of revising. So we're going to start out. I want us to craft a little bit about our freehold, the city that we are operating in, that we're going to be playing these 4 sessions out in. And I want to get a sense of where you would like to be. What kind of city do you think would be interesting? Do we have, a rundown Midwestern industrial? Do we have Northeastern hip? Do we have like a desert town, the hotness of something like in Arizona? Do we have something that is by the ocean or a lake or something? Anything that strikes you. I'm assuming American, just because I am a horrible American. So anything that you're like, I'd really like to do this. Sherry, let's start with you on that one.
Well, I would say the last couple of times that we've played in big cities, which means that essentially we're sort of living in places that are in the midst of a big city, but not interacting with it as much. So I think kind of maybe try a small town that's more like the changelings are more intertwined with the city itself, with the little town itself.
So how little are we talking? Are we talking like 100,000 or what?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe 100,000 would be good.
What do you 3 think about that, Patrick?
I mean, that's the thing is I picked a kind of big thing, but I thought of something where essentially the changelings do run, maybe they have a civic presence, though, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
That's really interesting. And if we're going with someplace small and sort of more isolated like that, I think somewhere northeast, like Vermont or New Hampshire, that have like a really strong like folk and craft tradition would be really interesting. They have like the bread and puppets, and they have like American shape note singing and just all sorts of weird stuff back in the woods out there.
So very much the sense of it's a small place, but it's a place that's been around a long time in terms of American history.
Mm-hmm. And
Okay.
like she was saying, with a big modern city, we deal with a lot of like modern issues and technology and sort of worldwide folklores, whereas like places like that in the Northeast have a very strong American take on a folklore, which could be interesting.
Rich, Stephen, what do you think? Are you cool with that, or is there some modification you want, or is it not to your taste? Rich, let me start with you.
I was torn between Fairest and Ogre, and if we go with a small town, I think Fairest seems less attractive, so I'd probably jump over to Ogre.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm glad that it's not in the South.
Okay. What do you think, Stephen?
So I grew up in a fairly small, isolated town, so I think that I have that background in history. So I think that's fine. I think that when we do this, I think pushing the isolation and pushing the, I guess, limited access to things, I think would be interesting. Yeah.
So maybe something along the lines of, we don't name the state necessarily. This is a smallish New England town. It has a bay, but it's a ways away. There are woods around it. There are islands and that are kind of cold out in the waters, and it's a good like 30-minute, 45-minute drive to the nearest other locale. Very isolated. Sometimes doesn't get great reception and things. What do you think of that?
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Okay.
I like that. I like the woods being a big part of it.
So, Rich, we kind of made you switch in this a little bit. Is there something that you definitely want from this town that you would definitely like to see that we can put forefront?
Well, with an ogre, there needs to be some kind of definite threat of a physical nature, because that really is where I see the moves for the ogre. I mean, brutality, Colossus, Huntsman.
So maybe we've got this woods beside that is dark, and we've got the ocean there. Maybe there are other non-changeling forces that are a threat. The isolation of this town makes it a good freehold for the changelings, but then there are these other things that are out there as a threat. Does that sound interesting?
Yeah. Okay. How about for you guys? Are you guys okay with that?
Sounds good.
So is it unknown? Is it like werewolves? Is it things from the depths? What's one thing you would like to fight, Rich?
I do not want things from the depths, because that will invariably in the New England area lead to Cthulhu, and so I'm just going to X-card that.
Okay, perfect.
Dang, you like led off with werewolves though. Werewolves for the unknown would be cool.
Werewolves are cool. We can make our own mythology up around them. And so we've got essentially dark woods werewolves as a thing that's out there, and perhaps that means that the sea is actually kind of a refuge for the changelings. That the sea is a place that they like. That maybe most of the changelings who came here actually, when they came out of the hedge, washed up on shore or whatnot. So that's an interesting bit. It also suggests that the hedge, when you see it, has that sort of sea foam and underwater look to it, the sort of the depths. Patrick, what's another thing that you would like to see in this freehold town?
Given how we set it up, I sort of like the um, struggle disparity between like the natives, the people that have lived and grown up in this area for like generations and are like farmers that come to the town, or like fishermen, or tourist industry, just people that are of the town, and then like the sort of influx of people that have come here because it's cool and rustic and vintage and hip, sort of artistic communities of like painters or musicians or things like that that have adopted this town as very much their own, but they're 100% not of here.
So the idea that maybe in the last few years this has, gotten some attention, and we're starting to get the gentrification and the
there was
tension.
like an indie movie filmed here, or there was some sort of like festival that came through the area that got a lot of coverage or something like that.
Okay, I like that.
So is it gentrification or is it tourists? I'm okay with either one. I just wanted to.
I think it's gentrification.
Okay.
I think tourism is probably sort of a regular staple of the economy here, at least seasonal.
Yeah, there are more that are people that are staying on and buying land and changing things.
Being weird hippies and city folk and stuff like that.
Stephen, anything else you would like to see?
So I was actually going to say something about gentrification.
Oh,
let's see. So I think I would like to see a want. I would like to emphasize, like I said earlier, the isolation or the need in this area.
Okay. And what is that need, that want?
I'm thinking, in order to emphasize the small town kind of thing, this should be something like a almost like a need to get out. Like maybe there isn't much progress here in this town, but it's difficult to leave because this feels safe. So I think we see a lot of locals who end up staying, and then there's also a lot of old changelings who end up staying in this area just trying to play it safe.
A pull that comes back here. So in now I'm actually having that flashes to that Haven show as well, for sort of visuals and things. All right. Yeah, I like that. And that pull may be completely mundane, or there may be some supernatural element to that want to leave and the desire to be pulled back. If we've got some ancient history, Sherry, anything else you want on the table?
Well, I mean, here's the thing: it's not like changelings ever fit in with normal people, right? So there has to be sort of a long time institution that explains the kind of various oddnesses that go on.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. So, and like why the group of people sort of mingle with each other more than they do with the rest of the town. So I think that there should be a thing of that there's an old commune that's been around forever, or something like that we belong to. And it's not like it's a hippie commune. It's like, we have orchards, and we have and we have docks, and we have those things. Like we have a decent stretch of land and stuff, and we go to the farmer's market and do those things. But our sense of the farmer's market is the old school sense of the farmer's market. It is literally where everyone shows up and sells their stuff. And now it's all touristy. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
And gentrified. So
you guys have been, the changelings have existed here for a long time. They have an institution, a commune or a farm that they're associated with. And even though they've been here for a very long time, they're still regarded as present as part of town, but also outsiders.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That gives us some interesting things to work with. So anything else? Yes.
So Sherry actually just said something that kind of touched me off. I really like the idea of there being a farmer's market that transitions into a fairy market at some point.
Oh, that's nice. I like that a lot.
Okay.
And I want to say that one of the reasons why the commune has stayed so off, isolated, and odd to them is that, like, there have been times when some of the locals have tried to come and join or whatever, and, you know, they're just completely rebuffed. So if that makes any sense, there's just, no.
They're rebuffed despite there being the fact that new people arrive.
Exactly.
And join. Okay. Anything else? Okay. We'll certainly add to that as we can consider here. What I want to do is I want to have us look at the character sheets, look at our character things there, get Stephen back on the line, and then we'll have us like do our quick pitch of what we're thinking, and I'll answer questions about moves and that kind of thing. And I'll probably go to your tab first, Sherry.
No.
When Stephen gets back.
I'm just going to go ahead and pre-apologize for terrible allergies that are making me make awful sounds.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is definitely what spring has arrived here, clearly, because my Claritin has started to not take the edge off of it.
Yeah, I shudder to think what it would be like without Claritin at the moment.
Rich, do you have any questions about the ogre moves or anything?
Okay, there we go. No questions right at this second. I'm just kind of looking through them and trying to think of a character concept in backwoods New England.
Yeah, I asked because because we changed how harm functions, we actually made harm, I think, more potent. And so the ogre got a lot of the changes actually to I think to make them more interesting, because we don't have a lot of moves that are just here's your AP harm and here's your extra harm and all that. So,
well, I don't know the ogre from before, so
yeah.
I just assume this is the best version.
It is. It is the best of all possible versions at this moment.
Where is harm even? Okay, drained, wounded.
Yeah,
is that harm?
Yeah. Well, so what harm is marking your stats, and also drained, and I'll talk about what that means. So, like, let's say you marked anger, you would change it from the sort of standard text. There's a drop down, so you can change it so it's red, and shows that stat has been marked. And so essentially your harm track is each of your stats can take damage. When they're damaged, you can't roll with them. And then drained is you always have an option to take harm as drained instead of taking it as stat damage. All right, Sherry.
Yeah.
Let's start. Give us what you're thinking about with your character. What's their name? What are you imagining from that? I just want to get the basics here from everybody, a sense of what they're doing.
Okay, so first I came up with the name. So everything follows from that. So it's Janie Magpie. Okay, and essentially I want a character who is whose senses are overwhelmed a lot of the times, except when stuff is very quiet. So, like, when she's around a lot of people, all she can do is sort of repeat the last word she's heard, like she's kind of putting it back together. When she's calm and everything, she's perfectly fine. When it's just the small group of people that she knows. But when she's overwhelmed, all she can do is repeat those things. That's why she's called Magpie. And also when she's overwhelmed, she goes full instinctual. So she'll steal things, little shiny things. And she also will attack if she's at all threatened or if someone smaller and less powerful is threatened. So she kind of just goes into pure instinct mode. So she is that is her problem in some ways, is that as a beast, she is sort of, when she's overwhelmed, she goes incredibly instinctual.
Okay. And so definitely bird origin, bird form for
absolutely.
that. Okay.
Magpies can be very aggressive. So
all right.
They're clever and they're aggressive.
All right. I've got that on the table. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get everybody else's, and I'm going to swing back around to you to ask you those questions about your durance,
okay,
and those details, and your court, and what you're going to call your kith. So just to tell you, that is what's going on with that. I'm going to continue to move that direction. Patrick, please tell us about your character.
So I'm playing one that I tried out before in Tyler's playtest of this. And it's sort of funny how much it dovetails into what you were talking about, Sherry. But I'm playing Whispering Echo, who is a wizened of winter. He looks sort of like a paint elemental, I guess, is sort of way. He's got sort of a bit of a fluid body, and I think I put down as the look skin like a lava lamp mood ring. It's just all these different colors constantly shifting all over him. But where I said it tied into your Sherry is he's someone who's basically had his voice taken away. It's a bit based on the old Changeling, the Dreaming Sluagh. So if it's a one-on-one situation, if it's a quiet situation, he can actually like talk and whisper to someone and they can hear him. But if it becomes more confused or louder, he just can't raise his voice enough to be heard. And so I sort of wanted to ask you about one of the moves, because I think he communicates through painting, basically.
Okay.
Most of the time. And so I wanted to ask if we could do a slight twist on the wordsmith move.
Okay.
When you make a speech or address, you may not be interrupted, blah, 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 and you can get your meaning across. And I was wondering if we could apply that to like paintings and drawings that he does.
I think we can probably move that within the fiction. The idea of the sort of the presentation of the art as the conversation that's going on. That shouldn't be too hard to do. That seems
and I've
reasonable.
got the starting move, the practice perfection, so I can art at great speed, so I can do it at conversational speed. I'll say as sort of a meta note, another place where this came from is me liking seeing other people's characters who were very terse or didn't talk a lot, and me wanting to play with that. So I have the moves to support that anything that I try and tell you should be pretty clear, and I should be able to get my meaning across. If I, Patrick, start becoming too flowery with descriptions or obtuse with trying to hide things, please just call me out and say, like, what are you trying to say here? I'm trying to evolve that and get better at it, but don't feel afraid to call me out in the middle of it and be like, what the fuck are you saying?
Okay. No, I think that's fair. Stephen, let me ask you to give us the 1 minute pitch on your Darkling.
So I pictured the Fade as someone who's been around a long time, doesn't remember where she's from. Her normal look is a very quiet goth girl in the back. They think she's strange, dressed all in, monochromatic colors, usually all black, just so she's not noticed. Her Fey form is just dripping shadows. And I think she's good at hiding. That's what she does. I'm a little afraid now after I've heard the other two characters that, we've all got very non-social kind of characters. I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure it doesn't cause any difficulties, and I can probably tweak my Darkling some to be a little bit more talking. Yeah.
Sure, and we can certainly check in with people as we play along to see how that works.
Okay.
All right.
So you mentioned you would go over durance here in a second. Is that something on the sheet?
Yeah. If you look under the third column,
Yes.
I've got those intro questions
Okay.
that are at the bottom there. That's the stuff I'm going to ask you about.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Rich, you've had a little bit of chance to think about this, but not much. What are you kind of imagining right now?
Well, things have been shifting as people talk about their characters, because everybody's playing these little solitary, quiet, meek flits of things, which is going to make for a great group, guys. Good job. Way to talk together. It's awesome. No, I think with the ogre, I was interested in the move cleaner, not because of the first part, the chew through and eat anything, but the fact that when you attempt to clear all traces and evidence from a scene, you can clean a location to leave no trace behind. It could be interesting if he is kind of the cleaner for the organization, for the hold.
I like that.
That interests me. And then the whole idea of this burgeoning indie film thing that was briefly mentioned. I really like the idea, like we're the new Sundance bullshit going around, of him being somehow involved in that, mostly that he carries around the big stuff and works cheap, and he kind of exists in this weird backwater gig economy where he does lots of little things, mostly because he's the preternaturally strong. So yeah, that's what I've got so far.
Okay.
And the other move that I was thinking about taking was Burning Bright, which matches with the superhuman feats of strength, but also his force of presence makes others secure under his protection. So once per session, he can clear all marked fear stats among his allies. So he's kind of a big brother type.
I like that. It means you're the kind of an anchor for these other changelings who maybe gravitated to you. Then.
Yeah, because if I were to play the Ferris, they would just take advantage of their meekness and
yes,
be their patron. This is what I think he looks like.
So, do we think maybe the freehold? Oh my! Do we think maybe the freehold was like behind setting up or luring this indie film scene here?
Yeah,
maybe as a way to revitalize the creative energy of the town.
Oh, like that. I like that. That's maybe a point of contention between the courts. Some of the courts are very into the idea of bringing these in to spark the creativity, but maybe some of the courts are like, I don't know about that. So we can develop that tension there. I like that, Rich, very much.
Cool, thank you.
Let me swing back around then. What I want to do on this is talk court, kith, and those questions that are at the bottom of the third column, and get those on there. So, Shen, I'm coming around to you. I know you hate me making you go first. I see you enraged there.
Yeah, what do you got?
So, what are you thinking for your court?
Which is the court that has Hedgemaster in it?
Let me.
Or is that adding something that we don't need in there?
Autumn is that court.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you're thinking Autumn Court?
Yeah.
Okay. That certainly makes sense. And the Autumn Court is usually associated with fear and magic. They believe that everybody should have a healthy fear of what's out there. That's the important thing. Does that fit with what you're thinking?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Autumn Court. Tell me what your mean looks like, what you actually look like to the other changeling stuff, and then your mask, what normal people see.
Okay, so she herself looks like like, I don't know, a girl maybe about between 19 and 23 maybe, with sort of long red hair. But the weird thing is that she wears a sort of lot of sharp, like almost shrapnel sharp metal jewelry that it looks like, but it's like hedge stuff. But it's like really, really shiny and really, really sharp. And she's kind of got feathers that grow out of her. She's always seems like she kind of has breezes around her, but it's more that she probably moves to where the breeze is, if there is one, is all it right. With anything else. She's very much tied to those things. She's very pale skinned, and her eyes, you don't really see her pupils. So, and all of that is just sort of it's not very bird-like in any sense except for the feathers, in a lot of ways. People who see her see someone who actually looks maybe a little bit older than that. Okay. And she has, again, the long red hair, and she looks very classically sort of what you would expect from a commune, and someone who works in an orchard. She dresses very casually and loosely. Like loose jeans, loose T-shirt, and maybe like, it's a T-shirt over a longer sleeved Henley kind of thing. And she looks very casual all the time. Not exactly hippie, but very unassembled.
Okay. I like that. And how old does she appear to be then?
She appears maybe like she's in her late 20s, early 30s.
Do you have a name for your kith?
That's a good question. No, but I'll look at kith names.
Okay. All right.
And get something. I apologize.
No, so I'm going to ask you these intro questions. I'm going to come to that.
Okay.
So we know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
How were you taken? What happened? Were you taken from here? Were you taken from elsewhere? What happened?
I think that actually what it was is that she was on a camping trip. Like she lived in the big city. And so she went on a camping trip, and essentially what happened was she saw something, like a glint of something, when she was up on the top of a valley, and she could see a glint in one of the trees below. And so she went down there and started climbing up into the trees, and she got lost, and then she fell out of the tree, but she fell into Fae.
Okay.
Because she'd been attracted by something that was sort of a projection from there.
Do you think that you have any family that live here in the town?
No.
Okay.
I think that this is where she came out, and she hasn't moved from here.
Okay. Where did you serve your durance? What was the name of the place that you...
Names. Why do you ask this? And
if only I'd given some examples.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is those are examples for other people. So. I want a place that's like, the idea of it is that it's, so Woe Given Forest sounds awesome. Yeah, except that it's not that they're dark or anything. It's that they're, the wind is always blowing, so the trees are always bent, and then they bend as the winds change. And they're up on high cliffs. There's, to get to anything like food or prey or anything, means traveling down through different layers of the forest, and it's always a treacherous thing, but the only safe place is to go deep back into it. And you have to have a flock. So she's got very much a thing of that, she likes to move in synchronization with other people. She likes to have those people around her. That's all the safety. And, essentially that was it, is that she's bird-like in that she had to survive in there. She had to find another group of living things and move with them and do the things they did.
And one of the things about the beast, of course, is that you become the beast while you're serving your endurance, while you've been taken by one of the old ones, the beautiful ones. They've taken you, they make you into this. How did you preserve your sense of humanity while you were trapped there doing this?
I think that she was wealthy. She had lots of nice jewelry, and she kept that very close to her and remembered it. She had a locket, with essentially a little picture of her and her sisters. So she had like rings, and she would like tell stories about what the rings were. So she gravitates to jewelry and shiny things as things that define her.
And you still have some of those, or were some of those things lost?
Oh, some were lost, but she can't remember which ones, which is what kills her. But she has some of them still.
And most beasts have a kind of an area that's kind of their territory. Mm-hmm. Even if it's just a small, a tree or a place. What do you imagine your territory is?
I think that on the commune, there is an old house that's from like the 1700s that was abandoned just because it had gotten old and creaky and things like that. But she lives up in its fourth floor, or that's her den. Okay. And she gets up there by scrambling past. I mean, it's a place that will go down at some point, but that's her thing. And she's not the only changeling who has a place around there.
Okay.
So there are other changelings who, one of them lives in the cellar and the kind of thing. So
one of the ideas I'm getting here in terms of how we've discussed the tone and so on is the idea that rather than the courts being big, fancy things, it's almost like we've got sort of four families that are there. Four lines, four matriarchs that hold sway over that. What won't you do to protect your motley?
What won't I do?
What won't you do?
I won't harm a child.
Okay. That's a good line. All right. So I'm going to get through everybody. I'm going to come back to you. And at that point, I'll ask you about your rival and your entanglements. Okay. Patrick, let's talk about Echo. What court?
Winter Court.
Winter Court. And why winter?
It's a lot of his durance and all that has to do with things being taken away from him slowly, bit by bit. And so it's that loss. It's that death of the old self that he can't quite get back. And he sees that in other people, especially in this town, that like the nostalgia of past glory and the dreams of like how things could have gone as compared to how they are.
Yeah, definitely winter is the court of sorrow. And about dealing with grief. And it's also the one about sort of hiding things away, which can be a good or bad way of dealing with those issues. And I see you call your kith mouthpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like that. So let's ask this. How were you taken?
And just briefly, I have a picture for him at the bottom of the middle column in my
nice
character sheet. So that's sort of an idea for him. So how he was taken, he was an aspiring artist who had skill certainly, but never much success. Never really found a way to catch on. There's so many of me. And it weighed on him. He tried for years to be an artist, and it was sort of that like cusp of it was probably a birthday, a cusp of coming to a decision of like, well, this hasn't worked. I have to find a new path for my life. Getting drunk at a bar when a woman comes up to him and has the sort of classic devil's bargain conversation of she can give me the skills, she could give me a voice in the world. And so I agreed to it, and that was the end of that. I got taken off into Fae.
Okay. Let me a step back. A question I forgot to ask here just a second ago. I see that the picture of you, that's your Mian. That's what the other changelings see. What does your mask look like? What do normal people see?
So he's small, thin, sharp-featured, probably like 5'7" or so.
Okay.
And he's got like brightly mismatched eyes, heterochromatic eyes.
Okay. How old?
I think he probably looks 30.
Okay.
I think that's when he was taken, and that's how old he still looks.
All right. And where did you serve your durance?
So I served my durance in the Lament Panopticon, which I thought was a great name. Under the Prismatic Queen, who again, over on the right side of my character sheet, I have a picture of her, not stolen from any comics. I don't know what you're talking about.
Fair enough. Okay.
Who she is a very like stereotype of the high noble she style sort of fae. Someone who was beautiful and glistening and amazing, and her words were too good for anyone, the world, existence. Her words were too high and lofty for others because they just weren't worthy. So she collected this court of artists, painters, sculptors, dancers, poets, all sorts of different arts to surround her in her court, this like shining, glittering crystalline columns thing up on the top of a mountain, where she would speak her words so that only they could hear, and then they would interpret her words for other lesser beings to receive her wisdom and her glory. And so he was one of the only ones who was allowed to hear her word, and so of course they had all unnecessary things taken away from them, like their own voice or their own identity. A voice doesn't need a name, a voice doesn't need a past. And so that's very much where he was, how he served.
And so they're scribes, poets, artists, and you were part of that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think? This is not a question on there, but I'm going to ask you. How do you think you broke out of that cycle?
I think it was like the persistence of a theme. Like through the whole process of winnowing down, of taking away anything that would be personal or that would dilute her message or her words. There was something, an image that was always there. Let's say a tree.
Okay.
Like a very old, distinct, gnarled tree that was, he can't even connect it to what it was in his past, just that it was a feeling of safety and home, something very connected to him. And when that was all that was left, I think that started to call to him.
Are you from the town?
I think so.
Were you taken when you were, you're here as a bohemian artist?
I think he's from the town.
Okay.
I think maybe that tree is something out here in the woods, and he still doesn't know what the connection is, but it's where he came out, and it's a place he goes back to.
So does your mask, the thing that people see, does it look like how you used to look? Is it fairly different so people don't recognize you?
I think it's fairly different. I think
Okay.
he used to be taller. I think he used to be fuller, more fleshed out. I think maybe he looks like a cousin of who he was. He looks like a family resemblance that maybe makes people a bit like a familiar memory of him.
Okay. I like that very much. All right. I'm going to actually move on um, to Stephen. Let me come to your character, Fade, then.
Okay.
So tell us, what is your season?
Autumn.
Okay. Again, that sense of fear and so on. So tell us about what they look like. We know the shadows dripping, right?
Right.
For your mien, and your mask looks like.
So my mask looks like a young girl, um, always dressed often in monochromatic colors, black and white. Um, appears to be goth, but not tattoos and piercings, just prefers black and white. Um, and maybe glasses. Yeah. I'm gonna have to. I've got a picture in mind. I'll see if I can't add in at some point. Yeah.
Sure. How old does she appear to be?
16 or 17, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on the younger side. All right. And what do you want to call your kith?
The hidden.
Okay. How were you taken?
So actually, what I've been thinking about was that during a drug-induced haze, I kind of slipped into the hedge. I don't know that I feel like that's someplace I want to take this game. So let me retro that back a little bit.
Okay.
I think I was probably so let me go back a step and describe something else. So I don't really remember my name from before I was taken.
Okay.
All I really have from before is a black and white picture of me with two maybe family members, two men who seem to be familiar or familial, something like that. Um, I want to say that we were actually traveling through the Northeast and stopped to camp. Um, uh, and during that night, I think we were all sleeping kind of around a campfire, like you did. And I think this is like in the 40s or 50s or something like
Okay.
that. So I have the only keepsake I have is a black and white picture that shows these men, and the dress appears to be 40s or 50s. I think that's one of the reasons I dress in black and white is because that's what's familiar to me.
Okay.
And I think I was probably dreaming out in this, campsite, and woke up in the hedge. But I don't remember much from before.
Okay. Do you remember where you served your durance? What do you remember about that?
Oh yeah. So I served my durance. I like Shadow's spool,
Okay.
and I think the Seekers there played an awful game of hide and seek,
Ooh.
and those that were found were devoured. Um, and I became very, very good at hiding.
How long have you been out?
I think I've been out a good deal of time. Um, maybe decades.
Okay.
Maybe 10, 15 years. How long do we think the commune has been around?
Well, we've established the commune is relatively older.
Uh-huh.
Um, um,
Like 1920s kind of old, or like
that seems
1960s?
reasonable.
Okay.
Like 20s.
Okay. Um, So yeah, I think she's definitely been around for like 15 years or so.
Okay.
At least.
What? So it seems to me that we got the answer to what did the gentry use to change you is that the answer is that hide and seek question. What is it from your past life that you still watch over?
I think that there are. Oh, I think this is the vagrants that come through this town. This town,
Okay.
because of the tourism and because of the gentrification, there are, back in my day, we'd call them hobos who come
Right.
through town, or there are homeless people who shift through town looking to see if this would be a good place to set up camp. And those are the people I look for.
Seasonal travelers. Okay. Sounds good. Is there a strangeness that you're currently investigating?
Um, I am looking to find out more. I feel like there's this gaping hole in my life. I don't know who I was before, and I see people who come back who find, their fetch and find out more about themselves and either integrate back into normal life or integrate into a normal kind of life, and I just feel missing. So that's the investigation that I'm doing, is looking for my past.
All right. I like that. Rich, let me come to you and have you tell us about Ungainly Gray. Is that the name?
Yes.
All right. So tell us about Ungainly Gray, what they look like in changing form and what they look like to other people.
Okay. In changeling form, I have a cool pic that I shared in the chat. He is a sad-looking ogre with a pair of very large horns, maybe a troll. Like he's got these pointed ears that come out to the side, and these smaller horns that pop out, and then these much larger, kind of curved horns. He stands about 8 feet tall.
Whew.
In ogre form.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And broad shoulders. Rarely wears a shirt. Has a lot of scars on his forearms and his chest, and a number of long, thin scars along his back as well. In his mask, he would be played by Ray Stevenson, who. I really like. So Ray Stevenson with a grizzled beard that he occasionally will take down to a Van Dyke. There's a lot of gray in his hair, and so you normally will shave his head. Is the one bit of like self-grooming, because if he doesn't pay attention to himself over a week, he'll have this like big bushy kind of beard and longer hair. His hair just grows just crazy fast. He goes by Gray among normal people, just Gray. He probably has some last name that someone helped him get so he could get checks and money and stuff. So yeah, he looks large in his mask, which is good because he's known for his weird strength and prowess.
And how old does he appear to other people?
He looks like he's probably in his 50s.
Okay.
And it is how he appeared. It appears he's aged maybe a couple decades. Like he was maybe in his late 20s, 30s when he was taken. And now he appears in his 50s.
I see you named your kith Gristle Grinder. That's a good one. What of the courts do you think you want to be affiliated with?
I was thinking that he is a Spring.
Okay, so the Court of Joy.
Because why not have all the courts represented, right? Don't we have them all?
Everything but Summer.
No anger.
Yeah, he sucks at anger. His worst stat is anger. It's not that he can't. It's just stuff goes really bad and wrong when he gets angry.
Absolutely. So how were you taken? What happened? You're in the real world, and the big bad Ferris came and managed to get you into the hedge. What happened?
It came from my sister.
Ooh.
They had been tempting and luring her into the forest for many weeks. And I went and I fought the Ferris until she looked upon me, and then I just begged her to take me instead.
And is your sister still alive? Is she here in the town? Is she elsewhere?
I've been researching on Ancestry.com trying to find out what happened, because it's been a very, very long time.
So it's an open question. I like that. And what was the place you were taken to? Where did you serve your durance?
I like the suggestions here. I'm not like Sherry, too good for the hard work that you put in to give us suggestions. I will happily use the first and last hotel. He was for a time a bellhop. For a time he was a bouncer at the bar at the first and last hotel. For a time he just cleaned things.
I like that. So you came out into this washed up on shore here. How did this community of this motley form? How did you come to be the pillar of this group of four?
I think he just noticed how little they seemed, and sorry guys, but like how weak, and he really wanted to help them, so he just started following them around.
Sort of like a shepherd, a shepherd dog, where you kind of maneuver them till you get all of them together, so you can keep an eye on all of them.
Yeah, I don't think he talks about it. It's just an inclination he has.
What is it about you that means that you've never been beaten?
Oh, wow, that he's never been beaten.
At least in your durance. When you served your durance, what was the thing that people were like, you can't beat Gray?
Oh, he still has his horns, so they're unbroken.
Nice.
They're in perfect shape.
So your horns are unbroken. What is it that you regret actually breaking, though? Either in the durance or here in the real world.
And by breaking of others, or has been broken about him? I'm not sure what that question is.
You tell me.
Darn you and your trickery. Yeah, I've been thinking about that one. I'm not entirely sure I have a most satisfactory answer.
Well, think about that. Can be an object, can be a promise, can be something that was valuable to you or to someone else. Just keep that in mind.
I mean, if it's just 4 sessions, so it could very well be he broke the face of the Ferris that he served, and that's how he got out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You guys are all doomed.
Doomed. They are all doomed, but we already knew that. All right, so what I want to do is I want to go through. I'm going to ask you about your rival, about your entanglements, and your romantic entanglement. And let me tell you what I mean by romantic entanglement. Doesn't necessarily mean you're in a relationship, anything like that, but it does mean changelings follow their hearts. They follow their emotions. So I want you to think about that. You can connect with fellow PCs on those. If you do, I'll have you ask that person to make sure that they are cool with that. And of course, I've got some NPCs for debts and other stuff that are listed at the bottom of that first column. So you're going to pick 2 from the standard entanglements and 1 from romantic. So Janie Magpie, Who is your rival? I think you're muted. Happy birthday.
Yay. So it's Question So Loud, who is a storm soul elemental of summer who extorted goods from a friend of mine. But also he's a storm soul, and so he makes all of the trees move around in an unpredictable manner, and I do not like that. Thank you very much.
All right. What about these entanglements here? Which ones do you want to take of those three? What two ones?
Let's see here. Wow, those are horrible.
Thank you.
I guess I'll be protecting person 1 from person 2. I'll work on that.
Okay.
And I'll do a job for someone, and I effed it up. But I got to look those up, right?
Okay.
Sure. And however, I think, let's see here. None of my motley mates have a lot of, how do you say, antipathy towards anyone. So I'm not going to protect someone from one of them.
Okay.
So maybe I will protect echoing whispers from some scary fairest. Like literally go after him whenever they start skirting around him.
Okay.
Beckon call.
Beckon call. Okay.
All right. And what about the hired for a job?
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's see.
A minute ago, you said it was horrible.
They're horrible choices. I stand by that. I think that Sarah No Tears hired me to get some hedge fruit for someone, to treat them. Mm-hmm. And I came back with something that I thought was that looked like that, but was clearly not that once it was used. And so let us say that that Zetcher Mercy has had health problems since then.
So that sounds like Echoing Whispers owes you a debt.
Yes.
And because we're signing a debt to and from you. And then you owe a debt to Sarah No Tears.
Yes.
Okay. That seems perfect. Do you want me to ask you the romantic one, or do you want me to come back on that?
Can you come back around? I think that's fair to do.
All right. Patrick, let's look at echoes.
So my rival is going to be the aforementioned Beckon Call. High collar fairest of spring, hoards a strangely large stash of money. And sorry.
That cat is an asshole.
It sounds friendly. Anyways, Beckon Call. He's a mover and shaker in the courts, such as they are, the families, whatever we're calling them. And I think at one point I had done this mural in whatever our central court area is, very much to express something of my own, which like I said, normally it's not a problem for me to express myself through my art. Normally it's not a problem to pass on even like complicated messages. But he's a fairist and they just have a leg up in that area. And he came in, he started interpreting my painting for the court, totally co-opted my message and twisted it around to something of his own.
Okay.
Which drove me insane. And when we came back for the next court, and he picked up that thread again and like went even further with it, I snapped and beat him about the head and shoulders with the painting, rather severely in front of everyone.
So that kind of leads into, is that the first entanglement then?
I think it's going to come down in my romantic entanglement.
Okay.
I pine for someone, but they're in a relationship with Beck and Call, who I hate.
Okay. So of the two standard entanglements, what are you thinking?
So I'm thinking Gray thinks they're protecting me, but I'm really protecting them from someone. So I'd be curious to hear who Gray is thinking for his rival. Let's see if that fits.
Ooh, that's an interesting thing. What do you think, Gray?
I was considering Abyssinian Max or Abyssinian Max.
Love it. Yeah. So Gray thinks he's protecting me, which honestly he probably is in a lot of situations. Not calling that entirely fake, but he thinks it's more of a one-way relationship where I very much am trying to protect him from Abyssinian Max for reasons that I'm sure will become clear.
Okay. And what about the other entanglement?
So many entanglements. Words, typing. So let's go with person one. My court superior believes I'm in the service of, we'll go with Fade, who is from a rival court.
Okay.
So give me a sec. I'll grab someone from my court. Well, I mean, we're playing small towns, so let's stick with Abyssinian Max.
Okay.
So that was Abyssinian Max. My court superior believes I'm in the service of Fade from rival court. Is it true? No, I mean we're a motley, and I certainly view it as equal partnerships. But yeah, I do think I've probably been involved with at least one or more capers, thefts, something that Fade did that really pissed off Abyssinian. Okay. And that would put no. They're in different courts. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So who do you want to have? Who do you want to assign a debt to? That and who do you want to take a debt from? NPC or PC wise?
Oh, I see. So that's not for each one. It's just out of the entanglements you choose 1, 2, and 1 from.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And they don't necessarily have to be from the entanglements. We can do them elsewhere. I just want to keep the sort of a couple of small debts to have at the start.
Oh, okay. I just because this will be evilly fun. I think since I beat Beck and Call in public at a court, I owe him a debt. Court enforced, sort of publicly enforced debt.
Okay.
As part of like the family's not falling to fighting or something like that, I was made to swear an oath in court in front of everyone, like the bad child that I was.
And who do you think owes you a debt?
I think Fade. I think it was for whatever I helped him out with that got me on Max's bad side.
You good with that, Fade? Okay. I'll come back to your romantic in just a second, Patrick.
Okay.
Fade. Let's look at those entanglements.
Awesome.
What do we got?
So, I think I'm hiding something for Mr. Pinch. To keep it away from Janie Magpie. and this is a piece of her jewelry
Ooh.
that he found. Are you okay with that? Okay. The other one is I think I have dirt on what Ashwine did to Echo. And I'm leveraging that for their help with something.
Okay.
And the secret is that I think Ashwine added some physical ashes to some of the paints that Echo uses. So he's using them to eavesdrop on him.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice. And actually, I'm sorry, there was something that had tied in with that beck and call that was one of my questions that we didn't get to. But what rule is most important to you is that my voice is my own. So that's what set me off about the beck and call thing. And yeah, that would definitely set me off about Ashwine there.
Nice.
Good. Okay.
So Ashwine owes you a debt then, right?
Yeah.
And who do you owe a debt to?
I think I owe a debt to Mr. Pinch, which is why I'm hiding something for him.
All right.
Oh, and my rival. My rival is Sarah No Tears, who lashed out at me for no reason.
She's a wizened. They do that, but they're still obnoxious. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, we'll come back on that romantic thing. Gray, tell me about your rival. Why is Abyssinian Max, the adorable beast cat, your rival?
The beast cat? Oh, I thought that was a ferret. All right.
that may be why you're okay. So we got that.
No, it definitely looks more like a cat now that I look at it. Why Abyssinian Max is just so clever, and Gray trusted Abyssinian when he first got wherever it is we are. And yeah, I don't know who Abyssinian Max's rival is. Maybe someone in Summer.
Okay.
So yeah, Abyssinian's tricked Gray a few times to act against the rival, and now he bears the responsibility for having acted against maybe Gloriana twofold.
Okay.
I'll never trust Abyssinian Max again. Never again.
Never, you say. Tell me about your entanglements.
I'd like to actually have one of them tie right into that. So he destroyed something important to person 1 at the request of person 2. I think person 2 is Gloriana.
Okay.
Tried to make it up to Gloriana, like, okay, what do you need? And Gloriana doesn't give much of a crap about Abyssinian Max. So she said, yeah, you need to go teach a lesson to Songbird Rex. And boy, that is a weird looking dude, I just want to say.
Yeah. What did you break of his?
I'm going to ask this question, and I know what answer you're going to give me, but like, what is Songbird Rex like or about?
So he's a like a beast, but he's weird because he's like a kind of a dinosaur bird beast, and he doesn't fit in with anybody else. So he probably kind of keeps to himself. He probably has things that he values that are, his own, to entertain him, maybe a record player or a Zune, or something.
It's Zune.
Okay.
Yeah, Zune, for anyone who doesn't know, that's an old Microsoft tried to make their own iPod. I had 2 of them.
No, you didn't.
I did. I had a brown one, and then I later got a black one. My wife also had one. We were all in. Microsoft products.
As a form of strange hipsterism, one of the girls that I work with at the bookstore, we got a used Zune in like last year, and she was like, "Ooh, I need to get that. I desperately need this dead audio format."
Oh
but you
God.
could squirt things to no. That's literally what they call it. Where you could like share files. They call squirting it.
That's horrible.
Someone in marketing said, "Well, we need a new term. Let's go for squirting." You know, if you don't mind, I think he just went on eBay and he found one that looked like it, broke the shit out of it, and stole the Zune. So now he just listens to the music.
Oh, nice. That sounds perfect.
Okay.
And what's your other entanglement?
Hold on a second. Songbird Rex. Let's see. I want to check in with you, Stephen. There's I tortured a person during their endurance. They don't recall it, but someone else suspects. I was thinking that perhaps Gray tortured Fade during their endurance at one point.
I'm fine with that if we twist it a little bit. I was actually going to pick you as my object of affection. I think there's a parental, little girl, big ogre kind of guy. So I was looking to you to be a protector. So I like that. I like that. I don't know that you tortured me during my endurance, but totally. Yeah, that sounds great.
Sweet. Yeah. Okay, that's great because I tortured Fade during their endurance. They don't recall it, but Zetcher Mercy suspects. What makes them suspicious? Gray seems afraid to. He won't initiate touching Fade, and he goes out of his way for her. So he is absolutely the best protector. So that's perfect that she has that attitude.
Nice. Who owes you a debt? And who do you owe a debt to?
I think that I. Oh, gosh, I don't know.
Fade's an easy one for owing a debt, right? Or Songbird Rex.
Sure. Or I owe a debt to Fade, definitely. That sounds fine.
The only issue with that is that Fade doesn't know that you owe me a debt.
True.
I'm fine with that.
No. So maybe I owe a debt to Zetcher Mercy to like not use that against me or not push it, or should I just owe a debt to Songbird Rex because I'm not really subtle. Okay, I owe a debt to Songbird Rex because, as far as he knows, I destroyed his Zune.
And who owes you a debt?
Oh God, I don't know. He doesn't do anything that earns debt. He's like terrible at that.
Maybe Abyssinian owes you a debt. Because he made some promises to get you to do things. And so there is still this outstanding debt, maybe?
Where do we record debt? I don't see that on the character sheet.
Oh.
I've just been filling them in at the bottom of the first column.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like other stuff, you mean?
Yeah, no, I need to have a debt section.
Okay, cool. I just thought maybe I was missing it.
No, you are absolutely right. That's like an obvious fix. So obvious that I have missed it each time.
Well, a lot of the early debt is recorded right there in the questions, but then as things go on, it's like, okay, so Abyssinian owes me a debt. Awesome.
Yeah, he's made a promise to you, and promises mean things to changelings. Let me swing back. I'm going to have one last question for each of you, and then we're going to take our break, okay? Sherry, tell me about your romantic entanglement.
I think that I know that Gloriana Twofold desires me, but my actual object of affection who is Songbird Rex, loves them.
Ooh.
And Gloriana Twofold just wants me because I always repeat the words of other people, like when she's around, and she can't get a hold of me. So that's pretty much it. So it's more that I've eluded her for as long as I've been here.
I like that very much. What about you, Echo?
So yeah, I finished that one out. I pined for Ashwine, but they're in a relationship to Beck and Call, who I hate, Ando, as it turns out. We know how we became adversaries, but I like the question of, like, if I found out about him adding stuff to my paint, that would probably definitely change how I feel about Ashwine. And there's also that open question of, like, am I obsessed with him because of what he did to my paints?
Ooh, okay. There's some mystical thing in there.
Yes,
I like
there's
that.
a lot of different possibilities there, and I like that.
And for Fade?
So I lied repeatedly to get close to Gray. But their lover suspects the truth. What stories have I spun? How much Gray disliked the others because he just seems angry all the time. Um, and it's the others in the motley to kind of drive a wedge between them so that I can get closer to him. Are you okay with that, Rich?
Well, now I need to find a lover, but I'm okay with it.
Okay. So we can change lover to either someone you're close to or someone I'm just jealous of.
No, I'm perfectly happy with someone actually being a lover. I just have to kind of look and.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we can come back to that. Yeah.
Well, you take a look and see who you would think of, and we can introduce a new NPC if you'd like, Gray.
Okay.
So let me ask you about your relationship question then. Maybe it dovetails into what we're doing right here.
I think it does. I'm going to go for my love for object of affection is undeclared because of my loyalty to person one. I think the person one is the person defined by fades. So it's the same person one. We'll just name them person one. No.
Okay.
Person one. No. Actually, person one isn't a bad name. But I think that that the object of affection, I'm going to say the object of affection is Whispering Echo.
Okay. I like it. Let's take 5 minutes. Got a lot of stuff on the table. I'm going to bring us back. I'm going to throw us into a scene, and we'll play out a little bit of that and roll out and play to see what happens. So there we go. So let's take 5.
So Stephen, what do you think Fade got my help in stealing from Max, or something shadow thieving about Max?
So since this is a small community, I kind of like to keep it a little bit self-contained. So the obvious thing that kind of sticks out to me is, again, something from like a piece of jewelry from Janie Magpie. So you said Abyssinian Max stole something from who?
No. So let's see. It was part of my Abyssinian Max believes I'm in the service of you. And I said, it's not really, we're just in a motley together, but I did help you steal something from him at one point, or pull some job on him that has got him suspicious.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that.
Could it be stealing back one of Janie's pieces of jewelry that he had somehow?
That's a possibility. It could also be something like stealing back the affections of a person.
Ooh.
Or stealing back someone, like in your case, if it was something stolen from you, it'd be like stealing back your voice or something like that.
I'm gonna let you guys think about that.
Okay.
So, give you a bit. So, we're gonna start play here. Stephen, when you need to go, just give us a high sign and head out, and we will wish you luck on your Gen Conning. I guess Origins crashed when they were signing people up earlier this week. Like, it was down for like 24, 36 hours.
Oh,
wow.
So like the first time I did this like 15 years ago, I thought, oh, I'll just do this on my lunch hour. And it was, I think it was 8 hours before we were able to get in.
Holy cow.
Of constant refresh trying to get in. Of course, everything's much better now, but there's always that sense of tension. But I'll let you know. I think what will happen is Fade will, hide and go back into darkness, and what I'm in text contact with the people, so I might be a little bit distracted. But yeah, I think it'll be
okay. So,
is Sherry back?
Yeah, she just hasn't turned on her camera. I saw her type on the thing, so that's how I know.
I am the worst.
She is. So we're going to start out. We don't know a lot of things. So feel free to establish facts, details, not already in evidence, about things that are going on. We've got all that. So let me ask you this, Sherry. Why is the boat sinking? Why?
Let's see here. I think because it was patched, and that, and it turns out that it's just gone from dawn to dusk. I mean, it's just turned dusk, and the enchantment that we had on it has given way, and it's come undone.
So you patched the boat. You'd hope to get out and back in time. Patrick, why didn't you guys make it out to the island and back in time?
I think we made it there in time. Like it was perfectly fine journey. Gave us no indication that anything was going to be wrong. It was what held us up on the island. I think weirdly, like where we were in the island, a giant sinkhole just opened up below us into the sea, and it sort of started spreading out towards us. Took us a while to escape from that nonsense.
So you ran away from this weird island sinkhole. Let me ask you then. It's gonna take me a while to get names, even though they're nice and short. The boat is sinking. You're halfway between an island out past the bay and the actual shoreline. What do you do?
And who are you asking?
Gray.
Okay. I was waiting for a name.
Oh, sorry. I thought I gave the name first. I think I did, and then I paused a long time.
Okay. I lost it in the thread. So we're in a boat. We've gotten past the sinkhole, or we're not past the sinkhole?
So you guys went out to this island. We'll figure out why you went out there. And when you were exploring around it, there was this sinkhole that you guys had to escape, and that ate up time because the enchantment on the boat wouldn't last. So you guys rushed back to the boat, but you didn't make it all the way back to shore. And now the patch on the boat has given way.
Yeah. I sort of like the idea that the sinkhole on the island and the hole in the boat are connected in some way. Like we're dealing with the force of holes.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Some sort of enchantment. Maybe there's been some magics that have been popping up, and you had some indication about this. And some you're not sure what it is, and you were looking into it. So what would you do, Gray?
Go. I will throw all of you to shore. Who goes first?
Boat tilts a little.
I do. I do. And I step forward towards you.
He's been sitting on the other side of the boat, which is a small boat, needs a big guy, so that's not really possible. Yeah, he'll kind of clasp his hands together for you to step onto them, and then he's going to try to just toss you towards shore.
Are you being? I mean, you don't like touching her.
If she initiates it, I have to. Plus, I don't want them to sink and get wet. This isn't like rapids or anything. We're just sinking in a river. So just keeping them from getting wet. Okay. I'm not at all stressed about this. This is not scary to me.
Do you think that with your abilities, do you think it's no problem for you to throw her?
It's absolutely no problem.
Okay. So in that case, the person that probably needs to make a roll is going to be Fade, because while he does throw you, you fly through the air. I mean, a good long way. You're in the middle of the bay where he throws you towards the sand. I think are you doing anything to help you, say, land?
So I think that in order to make it further through the air, I am, pulling shadow to me to kind of lighten the load. So I think I weigh less whenever I land, and that's my expectation, is that, I will be relatively weightless.
Okay. Let's have you roll stay strong.
Okay.
And
and I pick which stat that goes with?
Yeah. So let me talk about that. We've got 6 stats. They all represent kind of emotions, things like that. You get to always choose which one you want to roll. If, as a result of a roll, you take harm, you will always mark the stat that you rolled with.
So in this case, is power related to me using my shadow?
It can be, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what I'll roll with.
Okay. So why don't you roll, and we'll see what happens there.
I got a 6.
You got a 6. So you will fly, and when you're about to hit, you will see the sand kind of move apart and a hole forms, and you go down into it.
Okay.
All right. And that's going to be my hard move. I'm not going to make you mark power on that. So you throw her, Gray, and you're like, yeah. And you see her vanish when she hits the ground. Like you see a hole and she goes into it.
And I think whenever Fade steps up to Gray and, steps into his large hands, she kind of rests a hand on his shoulder and says, "You be safe, come back." and then throw.
Just to twist that knife there.
Nice, nice. She disappears. And you'll jump out of the boat and start swimming.
Okay. So I think I want to stay strong to see how you. Actually, I think this is inner turmoil. I think this is your emotional stuff. You're definitely going to run. I want to see what kind of mess you leave behind when you leap off the boat, though.
Oh, great. Sorry, guys. I think it's fear.
Okay. All right, then roll with fear.
Where did you stick the link to the roll for your party? There it is. I found it. Awfully competent. Awfully complete moment. Okay. Oh, look at those ancient dice. So cute. So quaint. There we go. I've rolled a 3. You're welcome.
All right. Well, the good news is you get to mark experience, as does Stephen.
Can I mark in advance? No, I'm joking.
Nice. So I think that you're going to make it, but I think you have to mark your fear stat.
Okay.
Okay. And I think also for you two who are on the boat, when he leaps off, the boat goes into the air, sends you two flying, and you'll both come splashing down into the middle of the bay. So, Janie, what do you do?
This is not my favorite place to be. I would like to make this very clear.
I assume you're saying that as you're falling.
Exactly. This is not what I wanted. That's what you say. But then I think when she falls into the water, she comes up very quickly, and her first thing is to orient herself to echoing whisper, because at this point she's going to want to follow someone, if that makes any sense, or move with them. So
can you swim?
Can I swim?
Yeah.
I think Jane can swim. I don't know that Janie Magpie considers herself a great swimmer.
But you can swim. Okay.
I can swim, right. I'm not.
So what about you, Echo? What happens with you?
So yeah, I think like when Gray had offered to throw someone, Echo basically turned the same color as the boat and the water behind them to sort of fade in the background and be like, not me, not me. But as we're going flying through the air and Gray is just fucking gone, like I imagine his wake behind him as he's swimming along. I think he shifts to like terrified purples, and as we come down in the water and Janie is sort of splashing around, I think he sees like the color from his skin start to leak and spread in the water, which gives him an idea to maybe just let go and try and spread out and become part of the water and control things that way.
So it sounds like you're using some greater magics.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you have a contract here, some kind of magic that you call on to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you will mark clarity, because this does seem like a greater effect, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Certainly, if I get it off right, I have a greater effect description in mind.
What do you want to roll with for this invoking of magics to do this?
Well, I think it's definitely fear at the moment. Like, I think he is not at all sure this sort of thing will work and that he won't just, like, leak and fade off into the ocean.
Okay. Let's have you roll.
All right.
What do you want to roll with?
Also fear.
Okay. A lot of fear going on here.
Oh, that's a 4.
So you will mark your fear stat, and you call to the water because it's a contract with the water, and the water says, no, 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 no. We're calling in our dads.
Uh-oh.
And it starts pulling the color down, and you will feel that undertow kind of reach up like a physical thing and start to pull you under.
So yeah, I think that rather than an actual physical whirlpool where the water is being sucked down, you just see this color whirlpool that looks like that, but no actual movement of the water. It's just this color through the water.
What do you want to do, Janie? You see, you can tell him, you can see the motions that say to you he's trying to invoke a contract, and then it clearly doesn't work.
And I do the only thing that I know that a flock of birds does when there's an inexorable force that's pulling on them, and I'm going to invoke cacophony myself, essentially an attempt to just throw so much chaff into the way of the water that I can pull my friend out.
Okay. So do you think that's invoking a contract? Do you think that's conflicting?
I think that it is a contract of cacophony. It's a contract of cacophony.
Okay.
And it is specifically to essentially break the hold that it has on echo or whispering echo.
Okay. Then what do you want to roll with?
It's my bird cell. I mean, I think cacophony is definitely a flock skill.
Okay.
So that would be either fear, because flocks live in fear, or it would be power, one or the other.
You choose. You get to choose.
Probably power. I would rather ruin power than anything else.
Then let's have you roll.
Okay, now I just got to find that page. All right. So.
And then I'm going to come and check in with. It's going to take me a second. Fade.
Are the green dice anyone? Is anyone rolling those? Because usually I'll use green. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to roll those and add 1.
Okay.
Okay, so I got a 9.
That's a 9. That's the
you closest to success we had. So.
Yeah. You'll be able to stop the water. It's disappointed that you stop it. What is? Let's see what the catch would be. What do you think the catch, the sort of the price you have to pay for this would be? I'm going to let you choose, even though the move says I would choose, but I'm going to let you choose.
I think that what happens is that essentially it's a cacophony. It's a call to flocking. And the other thing that is close to flocking in the water is fish. Okay. And essentially what it is there's a sort of overwhelming stream of fish then that like kind of come through. And it's really disorienting. It's like, all of these cod come like just barreling through the area.
Because essentially they're going to be nipping at you. Mm-hmm. The price you're paying is essentially feeding the fish as they're nipping at you. Okay. And essentially, if you've seen when there are a great swarm of fish that roiling under the water, it's like that kind of pushing on you too. So let's come back to Fade. Fade, you fall through this hole. Before, when you saw the holes, you couldn't see to the other side. But when you fall through this one, you clearly transition very quickly into the hedge. We will see the hedge here because you're so close to the water, rather than being, hard plants and stuff, is like seaweed and kelp, but with like thorny razor edges to it, and coral kind of mixed in, but not like aquarium coral, like dark green and olive drab and black coral. And you kind of land there and you realize that you've fallen pretty deep into the hedge. The hedge has a kind of a layer and depth to it, and you've hit and you're on what's called a trod, like a well-worn path in the hedge, but it's not one you've ever seen before. And you can see there is actually a hole up above There's some sand pouring in, and it's closing.
So the kelp around me and seaweed around me is razor sharp, so I don't think I could climb that. But I think what I need to do is hide. I think that's my first instinct.
Okay.
And I don't have anything to reach. And by up above me, we're talking, 50 to 100 feet or something like that.
No, I'm going to say like 20, 30 feet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I think that that's all I can really do is I'm going to step out into the shadows and try and hide from whatever's in the hedge.
Okay. So you kind of make yourself small, hide, dark. You've torn through the water like a shark, running through with the wake behind you there, Gray, and kind of hit the shoreline. And it's still dusk. I mean, dusk dawn. I mean, it's still kind of dim out. So people haven't seen this strangeness. But you'll hit the sand, and the crabs kind of go running away from you as you stomp up, and you will see this hole that is shrinking. And you can kind of look down into the hedge and see. I mean, it looks like 20 feet or so down below, and you see this little shadow kind of fading. What do you want to do? How would you rescue Gray?
What when I get to the shore again? What do I?
So you're on the shore. You've hit the sand.
The hole. Is the hole gone? Or?
No, that you see this. There's this big hole that was there, and as you've come up, it's shrinking. I mean, and it shouldn't be there.
There's right. Okay. Yeah, I'll just shove my hand through. That's fine.
Okay. Well, she's about 20 feet down below. Would you like to try and jump down, grab and jump back up, or would you like to try and
get her out? Are there vines? Is there a tree I can yank up and just shove down there?
You tell me.
Okay, great. Stay there.
And you're going to go wrench a tree up and
then shove the tree down in the hole. Just grab onto some roots.
All right. Let me think here. I think that you've got that move again. This is pretty easy for you to do. But I do think that we're going to roll stay strong just because of the timing issue. You want to do this as fast as possible to get that down to her before this thing closes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what do you want to roll for that?
He feels pretty good. He found her.
Yeah.
He knows what he can do. She doesn't appear hurt. So I think he's rolling with power.
Okay.
I'm going to reroll these purple dice because they're so cute. And they roll well, so that's good. I got a 12.
So you grab this beach pine, yank it up, run over, and you'll see this tree come barreling down into the hole. Is your instinct to climb up it or to stay hidden?
My instinct is to stay hidden. However, I think I heard Gray shout down, grab onto the roots, and I think that's all I do is I kind of almost wrap myself in the roots of the tree and say, I have the tree.
Nice.
I think that you grab onto it and he can pull that up out of there. I just want you to roll an escape roll. I want to see if there's any cost as this thing is closing, as this tree is being pulled up.
So I think this is fear.
Okay.
So let me roll that. I got an 8.
Okay. So what is it that you leave behind?
Ooh, the photograph.
Okay. Get yanked up, kind of the edge of the hole hits you, and maybe a pocket gets torn, and you look back and you see that photograph doing that.
And I kind of reach out, but, can't get to it.
You're yanked out. You've rescued her, Gray. Awesome.
Turn the tree sideways and gently lower it down so she can step off and just kind of fling the tree somewhere.
Tell me, how is it that you two get to shore? Is it swimming, or is it this school of fish pushing you along?
Oh, go ahead.
I was thinking, if I have the fish and I have that flock, I probably will use them at least to some extent, just because that seems comforting to me. But I have a hold on Whispering Echo's collar.
So, Gray, you'll turn around and you see bedraggled looking companions. You'll see Janie and Echo, and they're kind of being pushed by fish and birds and getting to the shoreline.
I think Echo at this point, like, he's just been, looks like, yelling at, trying to get Janie's attention this whole time through the cacophony, and there's just nothing coming out. But he's so mixed up and churned at this point, he's just turned like various shades of gray. Everything is just mixed together right now, and he's leaving bits of himself on wherever we land.
That seems good. And yeah, it looks like a Gray is lowering a tree torn out of the ground gently onto the beach here. And you'll hear this as that hole goes away.
I'm standing there like shooing off birds. Get away from me.
He'll reach over to see if he can pluck either Echo or Janie out of the water if they want a hand.
I'll take a hand for the last few yards for sure.
Yes, please.
So three of you are soaked to the bone.
Sorry about that. Really sorry.
Really sorry. Sorry, she says to Whispering Echo. So,
but it's okay.
It's okay.
I think the only color in Echo's face right now is his eyes, which shift from their sort of more normal blue and green to like a red and orange, just staring back at them like, come the fuck on.
So you went out to this island, you found a sinkhole there, and clearly the sinkhole's been kind of contagious. I mean, it appeared on the boat, in the weakened spot, and it's appeared here on the beach. Who sent you to look into this? Was it one of the princes?
Yeah, it's going to be a prince. We're important.
Okay. All right. The prince of what court do you think?
It could be Max with all the stuff I'd sort of been imagining him as higher up in the court.
Okay, so Abyssinian Max is the Prince of Winter.
He's my rival. Thanks a lot.
And he's the one who had asked you politely to go out and look into this thing. Yeah, you going to check on it? Yeah, right. And so now that you have found out something, what would you do? Would you go to look for more evidence? Would you go to talk to Max? Would you go and try and seek out information elsewhere? Or would you just go home and get cleaned up? Because, of course, when you've been in the water like this, it's not just water, it's sand and grit and dirt that's also in your clothing. What do you think, Janie?
I think that there are people who work outside a lot of times, so sand and grit is not the thing that's bothersome. It's that the salt is going to dry on us, and that will be beyond the pale to take into the Court of Winter, where magic is important and salt, hence, is particularly important. So that is probably more the concern.
So did you use your abilities to to clean off the salt?
No, we actually go and we get a hose. We hose ourselves up.
I assume it is a beach, so they probably have those beach showers, right? So you go hose yourself down. Do you do the same, Echo?
I'm getting really tired of water, but yeah, there's just all sorts of stuff stuck in my skin in a really unpleasant way. So I think he stands under another one of the showers, and it sort of starts at his head, but sort of like latex paint will form a skin over it. If you leave it out for a while, I think like this skin of gray and grit and salt and dirt sort of comes off of him, and underneath he's a lot more fluid than he normally is, but there's colors back, and he's not just monotone anymore.
Do you think that that this is something that registers with Gray, the whole sand and grit and things, or not?
Oh, of course. There's chafing. He feels bad. And as a show of solidarity, he, after holding and spraying people down and in delighting in the colors that is Echo, sorry, it looks really cool. He'll take out his like stuff in his pockets, including a Zune, and set it gently over, and then he'll spray himself down. And like, see, I got myself wet too there.
While all this is happening, what's Fade's reaction?
So I think Fade is just hiding and sad and almost pouting about the loss of her picture, and is kind of clinging to Gray. And then as he starts to spray down everyone, she kind of backs away and just kind of sits on the periphery.
Okay. So you will get cleaned up, and it seems to me that we can scene cut to the Winter Court. Does that seem fair?
Just briefly in between, I would like to either
Sure.
while the other two are still getting dried off and stuff, maybe go over to Fade off in the corner and just come in close, and you can sort of hear his voice now. Things have calmed down. The two of you are a bit alone, and he says, "You look lost. You look like you've lost something. You look confused. What happened when you landed?"
I was flying through the air, and it was really bright, and I hated it. And then it got really dark, and I was happy. And then the darkness became the hedge, and it was the water hedge, and then it was bad. And I landed on a path that I'd never ever seen before, so I just hid. And then Gray pushed down the tree, and I grabbed a hold, and he saved me.
But why do you look sad if Gray saved you?
I lost something. It hurts.
What?
Yes. What did you lose?
I imagine you lean in on that scene then.
Yeah. Oh, nothing, and I kind of shrink away. Nothing.
What did you lose?
Oh, I didn't lose anything. I'm sorry. I just kind of shrink away. I'm not going to tell anyone. Yeah.
And I think Echo is there, like trying to ask more questions, but especially with Gray, it gets drowned out by sort of the others talking.
And now we'll cut to the Winter Court. What season is it right now? Are we in spring, summer, fall, winter? The obvious one is spring or summer.
Yeah. How about spring? So it was still a nasty cold sea.
Okay. So winter isn't in charge, but they do have their own space. What does the Winter Court space look like? This is your court, isn't it, Echo?
Yeah. So this is sort of a commune. So I'm imagining like all of these places of power are maybe like in the same building complex attached to where the central court is.
Okay.
Does that sound right, or do people imagine them being like spread over our land?
I imagine that there are some separate buildings and things. We've established that.
But this is, the Prince of Winter sent us out, so I think this is sort of Max's offices or equivalent in the central court area.
Okay.
So I think it's all very like dark woods and leathers and velvets and all sorts of like 3 or 4 fireplaces, just so you can never be too far away from the fireplace, and lots of shadowed corners and just lots of different textures and sort of sensual sensory things for Max to metaphorically roll around in. Maybe sometimes literally roll around in, but not when anyone's there, of course.
Right. Stretching his claws. It's the kind of place they imagine has that old smell of like a tobacconist, like the sort of old odors in the wood and so on. And he listens to what you tell him, that you did go out to the island to look, and you found a sinkhole, and about the boat, and about this thing. And with him there is Spinning Ginny. She's from the Autumn Court. She's the Fate Spider. And she's kind of the soothsayer and oracle for this. And he's like, oh, okay. All right then. So what exactly did you see in there Fade?
I saw it was dark and it was glorious, and then I saw that there were green seaweed hedge pieces and coral, and then I landed. It was only like 30 feet, but it was too far down, and I couldn't get back out. And there was a trail. There was a trail there that I'd never seen before, in the hedge.
And it was the hedge?
Yeah.
And not a place that you'd seen before, right? Right?
No, I don't like it. But no, I hadn't seen it.
All right. And he kind of looks at Jenny, and he says, all right, I know a couple other people have seen these holes. I'm going to ask Spring to have somebody go and look into the records. See? Yeah? And go and read through those. And that's your court, right? Right, Gray?
Yes, it's mine.
Maybe you see you want to go and ask your prince about that, and see if they have anybody that knows about these holes and things. Yeah,
maybe.
And he'll turn to Ginny, and he'll say, "These are out of my he gets all magic-y stuff in the hedge. Some people should go talk to some of the pathers, the people who go and hunt in the hedge for fruits and things like that. See if they know anything about this." But all right, I appreciate your going and do this to me, and he will pull out cash, and that's a common reward for doing a thing, and he will put it on the table and say, here you go. Anything else you need from me? Okay. Yeah, you guys ought to go then. And get out, yeah, And he kind of dismisses you. You're still not sure why he was the one who sent you out for the holes, and you don't have a lot of details. but he certainly paid you some money that you can spend on stuff in town, for the kinds of treats and luxuries that they don't have on the compound all the time. What do you suppose they make here on the compound? And I heard we had an orchard, right?
Right. And I assume that essentially it's lots of old timey treats, apple butter and peach leather and all kinds of other gruesome fruit uses.
Okay. Very
Pickled
Amish style food. And...
Punishing the fruit into shapes it was never meant to take.
Exactly.
But certainly no sugar.
I assume that's what the autumn court thing is like where all the canning takes place and all of that stuff, and then like jars and jars, just storage for jars and jars and jars of.
They're probably those kind of cellar basements that you go down into that are just chamber after chamber of jarred things going back 10, 20 years.
Yeah, I really love that sort of like hoarder prepper mentality for the autumn court fear. That's interesting.
Okay. So you're dismissed. And so let's check in and see what you want to do. What do you want to follow up on this, or you can tell me about your own personal agendas, things that you want to do. This whole thing may not be that big. You may want to see what's up in terms of gossip and stuff.
I had something that I wanted to make sure to get in with Stephen before he had to leave.
Okay.
Sure.
So the whole thing is interesting, but I'm really like hooked in on how sad he looks. Sorry. And so I do have a debt on Fade, so I could try and like force some answers out of her, but that seems really rude and invasive. So I think I'm instead going to go with a little light winter magic and just sort of pry into her psyche. That seems much more polite.
That does.
So in that retelling in Max's, I'm really focusing on what she was saying and trying to figure out what she's leaving out, and I'm watching her on the trip to and from to see if she's like feeling for something that's not there, just trying to dig into what's gone wrong.
So this is you doing a study of her then?
I was going for Pierce the Mask, although they do seem very similar.
No, it is. There is no Pierce the Mask anymore. That's a typo on my part. It's all study.
Ah, okay. Well, Pierce the Mask is still on the basic move sheet, and my Winter Court one refers to it. So that's where I was going with that. So yes.
Have it on the basic moves?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That might be my fault. They were really far down, so I moved them up because
they're not supposed to be there.
Get rid of them.
Oh yeah, no, those are we're using study to replace those.
Ah, okay. I'll change the wording on my move at some point. But so, Murmurs of Sorrow from Winter Court, add the following option to study. It would be, what is their greatest sorrow?
Okay. So, what do you want to roll with that?
This would definitely be sorrow, Winter. This is my expertise.
Let's have you roll.
4, 8, 10.
Look at that. So you have 2 hold to ask questions or review details. The Pierce the Mask and the other one are those, you can use those kinds of questions as examples. What do you want to ask Fade?
So I'll start with the what is your greatest sorrow one, which may be this because it's present in your mind, but it also says this can reach into lost memories or the durance.
So I think that Fade's biggest sorrow is not having memories and not really having a family. That's why she seems very close with everyone else. and you suspect that that's probably what this sorrow is related to. This is what really would impact her the most, is some kind of loss. Yeah.
It makes sense. Everybody kind of, as changelings, when you go in, you lose some of your memories, your past life, and when you come out, you lose some. But it's been your experience that Fade has lost more than most people.
No, and that I totally sympathize with, understand that, because that's a lot of what I had lost too, is those memories of my past connections, and that's what was strong enough to pull me out, was this one vision that felt like home. So I think the follow-up question, like trying to dig into lost memories, is I want just an image, not necessarily a context, but just an image that would feel like home for Fade, whether she remembers it or not.
So this would be a second question that you're asking?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it can be something that maybe she doesn't remember.
Oh. So I really like that what you see, this image, is literally the image that was lost. It's literally these two gentlemen that are dressed up like they're in the 40s or 50s. They probably have like hats on and like thin ties. It's black and white. You see probably a younger version, like maybe a year or two younger than Fade is, than Fade's mean appears to be, in the picture. And I think these people all have their arms around each other, and they seem very happy.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Here's what I want to do: is I want to check in with Janie Magpie, and then I want to check in with Gray, see what they're doing. So, Janie, after this kind of breaks up, what would you do?
I think that what she will do is she will walk up behind Gray and she'll catch a hold of the back of his shirt, and she'll sort of lean in and go, "Are we going to talk to Spring? Are we going to keep on looking into the holes?"
If Abyssinian wants it to happen, then he didn't offer a debt, and so that means he's making us do something bad.
You think? Well, then you have to warn your prince.
That's what he wants me to think.
Wait, what?
He suggested that if I run to warn the prince, then there isn't a problem with the hole, and he's trying to manipulate me into making a fool out of us.
Making a fool out of us.
It's wheels and cycles, not the ones you ride. It's very complex. Obsidian is very clever. Though perhaps he knows that I am smart enough to know that he suggested talking to the prince, which means that I won't talk to the prince, which I should have done.
You should have done.
And then when Spring is in trouble and I didn't warn them and I knew I'm in trouble. Oh, he's so clever.
Clever.
He picks up a rock and just kind of tosses it a few times.
She'll do the same thing.
I don't know what to do. What do you recommend?
She kind of holds the rock up and she goes, "Tell the prince everything."
Let's go.
Okay.
So
Does
you will
he ride on his shoulder? Because he would lift her up and just put her on his shoulder unless she finds that offensive or bothersome.
Not at all.
Fade shoots daggers.
So, who is the Prince of Spring? Is it one of the three pictured there, or is it someone else?
That's a fine question. It would be fun if it were Beck and Call just because of a certain rival, wouldn't it?
It's a possibility.
What do you think Echo.
I think it makes sense that I am a fine enough artist and high enough person that I only piss off the best.
Here you go. So then it is beck and call.
Beck and call.
So you did smash him over the head with a painting. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I love how that crime is slowly escalating over time.
Yes.
So
where's the spring court? Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you guys don't mind, I think I'm going to drop off now.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
Pleasant playing with you. And basically, Fade just fades into the background, and you guys can go ahead and have the spring conversation with the Prince of Spring.
Okay.
Lowell, are you going to post the video?
Yeah, I should have it up by tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Have fun.
Take it easy.
Sorry that Steven had to pull a Fade.
So where is the spring is in charge right now, and where is the spring court at?
The spring court. I'm sorry. I'm sure other people have used this, and it's terrible and trite and dorky. But damn it, if I can do a crappy Star Wars crawl for the Star Wars game I do, then I can have the spring court is currently at the buildings that are built for Renfest, but it's not Renfest season. They just stay there because it just looks so awesome. And all these bright colors, it's slightly faded paints. And yeah, so there's like the Punch and Judy area, and then there's the area where you get all your turkey legs on a stick, and where there's like the art gallery section. Then there's that long post where they will do some of the jousting and everything. And then for some unknown reason, a bouncy house is still here.
Absolutely. I love the idea that this is something that the compound does, every once in a while as a local event. They built this up. And there's a time when Ren Fair players come in from all across New England. There are obviously a few changelings that sneak in with them, and you probably have parties then. And Beck and Call is there. Hail and welcome, Sir Grey.
Beck and Call.
I see you have a bird on your shoulder.
I do. The fairest bird.
Ah, but not a fairest, but a bird. Greetings. Come in. Perhaps you would like some mead.
Not too much.
Oh, yes.
Too much.
And he does. He goes and pours. You guys make honey. And it's spring. And so he has some of the mead that he will put down before you. And he's, come and sit. How is my favorite ogre?
I'm your only ogre.
It does not mean that you're not my favorite.
True, but it could also mean that I am the one you hate the most.
Oh, no. I have other ogres I hate much more.
Oh, good.
Much more.
That is correct. So what has brought you here on this fine day? You look a little bit draggled.
We have walked from the river here through the gravels and across the brambles because we have found that there are holes upon holes in a thread. And I bring that to you because you should know. And I think it's Abyssinian Max's fault. I'm not sure how.
He is a worrisome beast.
I thought he was a ferret, but he's a cat.
No, I remember when you called him a ferret. That was not a pretty day.
He's not pretty, and it's only fitting.
He says, but we should not antagonize princes. It's a very bad idea for people who are not princes to antagonize princes.
You are, of course, correct, Beck and Call.
Yes, I am. Yes,
wise. You're very wise.
And he will ask you to kind of tell him about the holes and kind of get the story on that.
Yep, tells all the holes upon holes. He doesn't know about the lost photo, so doesn't even mention that.
Okay.
And I think, as we came in, Echo's obviously very hanging back from Beck and Call, but he was all swirling with, angry reds and oranges and tinges of green on the outside, and as like we're watching Beck and Call having to try and deal with gray, it's shifting over to a more like amused pink sort of palette, and then Beck and Call gets in that dig, and it's just all the anger flushes back up in him.
And he says, "So you went out to the bay, took a boat out in the bay, out to one of the further islands, and you found a hole there. And then as you were coming back, the hole sunk your boat in the bay and hit the beach. All right, all right. This is not something that I know about, but I will ask Sainted Coils. She's the keeper of records for us. If I can get her focused, then I will have her look into this and see what it could be. There's something about it that strikes a chord with me, but I cannot quite place it. But I appreciate your bringing this to me. And perhaps don't openly blame Abyssinian Max for it until we know better.
Very well.
Oh, Echo, I didn't see you there.
Prince, the ocean said debts, that it was calling in its debts. Gray did not hear.
It's not calling you to its depths. It's very close.
No, it was calling debts.
Says that makes me worried. There are forces around the town, as you know, the woods, and the depths of the bay itself. Old things I've heard of. Let me look into this and see what I can find out. In the meantime, I believe that you had you were helping out with the preparations for the Ren Fair. So why don't you look to that? And when I know something more, I will tell you of it.
Very well.
But before you go, I have to show you this. And he will go and he will bring out something, and it has just this sort of pungent smell to it, and he'll bring it to you, and he sets it out and opens it up, and there's a box with turkey legs. They are warm, but there's some sort of slathered sauce on it. It says, hot wing turkey legs.
Oh.
See what you think. Others have not appreciated my artistry with this, so but I know that you have a refined palette. All three of you, please. And he gestures clearly, expecting that each of you will have one of these hot wing turkey legs.
Ungainly Gray grabs the first, and he hopes to eat it in case it's terrible, so he can give them the high sign of like, you probably should beg off.
Okay. Is it terrible? Or is it great? Or is it in between?
It clears the sinuses. And there's an after taste of like charcoal and brandy.
It's like a coffee flavoring thing. Okay.
Yeah, I figure Janie does exactly what he does right after him, because she always does. So she's taking a big bite of it, and then her eyes just start watering.
Also, because you try to take a bite the size that he has taken, so your mouth is full of hot wing turkey.
Yeah, it's the skin, and so you're trying to tear it away, and all the skin is coming with it. You know, it's that awkward turkey leg thing that can happen.
One bite turns into way more than one bite.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Echo? I think you're muted.
Curses.
You're muted.
No, Echo's sitting there with his arms like petulantly crossed, and the angry reds and oranges have moved into his eyes as he sort of intentionally flushes himself with like greens and yellows and sort of nauseating colors.
So, what do you think?
Echo will just take a big sniff and disapproving face.
What do you think, Gray?
I like it. I like hot things. I like charcoal. I like brandy. I like things that should not be on turkeys.
What?
And he looks at you, Janie.
And she has like tears running down her eyes, and she says, "Turkeys." That's all she's got.
Right. All right. Then I will take this back to the drawing board, as it were, to see if I can refine
Is
this.
visionary and
Yes.
creative.
I am nothing if not visionary and creative.
You're
An artist in my own right.
In many rights. In all rights, you are an artist. Perhaps the world is just not ready for this. However, I will take that other one.
Oh, yeah, please help yourself. Well, thank you. I hope to speak with all of you later, and I look forward to seeing what you are preparing for the Ren Fair.
I thought you just needed me to move things.
Well, yeah, I think that's a given, but I know that Janie and Echo especially, was going to prepare something striking.
Striking.
That's amazing. Yeah, as we're on our way out, Echo will be last and sort of slam the door behind us. And as he does, like this pool of paint spread out from his hand over the inside face of the door, so that it's a big. He's obviously being helpful. It's a large representation picture of the sinkhole as it was opening on the island, so that he knows what to look out for. But it very clearly carries the message of like, don't let the sinkhole hit you on the ass on the way down.
Gray will, of course, he doesn't use his turkey leg hand because juices. He'll put his hand down and on Echo's shoulder, kind of lean down a little bit. You hear that? You'll be in one of the galleries, the Renfest. There are changelings who come from all over, hundreds upon hundreds of people to see the wonder that you create.
Hundreds to see.
I don't like Beckoncall acting like he's in charge of everything.
But he is in charge of the Renfest, where he is granting you a great boon without requesting a debt. I'm so excited for you.
Yes, I'm sure he wants nothing in return. This is simply out of the generosity of his heart.
Generosity of his heart.
Nevertheless, it is an opportunity for everyone to see the beauty that you bring to the world.
I think you're like managing to break through, and he's blushing into sort of the pink and purple range of like trying to hold on to his anger, but he is sort of smiling a little bit.
Nice. So are you helping them clear their fear?
I'd love to help them clear their fear.
Okay. So if you have fear marked, you guys can clear it.
I do. I didn't even have to punch Beckoncall or anything.
That's right.
So curious, can I clear my own fear?
Let me see how that is.
It's among your allies, so I don't think so, but I wanted to check.
Actually, I think it specifically says you can.
Look.
Once per session, you may clear all marked fear stats among your allies present in the scene. So, okay.
Yeah, I don't.
It does sort of talk about your force of presence makes others secure. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking of Flock's Way, which is like you can choose two different, and they can clear a marked stat, and you can choose yourself.
Yeah, so I don't think it, at least the way it's written, I can handle my own fear. So I'll just be fearful.
Do you want to? One of them could try and do the support to help you clear yours in return.
I will. Janie will eat that whole turkey leg, even though she never stops tearing up.
It's probably sniffling.
Solidarity, though.
It's so good.
So what do you want to roll with?
What do I want to roll with?
On a hit, you clear his fear.
I want to roll with calm then.
Okay.
Everything's okay now. Here we go. So that's a 10.
That's a 10.
Hooray!
So they can clear a condition. And if you had a condition because you rolled a 10 plus, you could also clear a condition. Or you could ask them a question, or you could gain a debt on them. You don't have to take any of those options if you don't want to.
Well, I think I'll ask him a question.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to ask him, I know why you take care of Fade, but why Whispering Echo?
Is this because it's like right in front of Whispering Echo
or Echoing Whisper? I forget which.
Whispering Echo.
That's what I thought.
He would say, I do the same for all of my motley. I care for all of you very deeply. And then there's a lingering look towards Whispering Echo's back that says the real answer.
Nice. I like it. I think actually that's where we're going to end for today.
Cool.
I want to do the end of session experience to get you some more XP. What we'll do is I like to do it every other session to do the roses and thorns. Because we did character creation in half of this one, so we'll save off on that. So, did you risk or sacrifice to interfere with your rival, or to mess with your rival, or to irritate your rival? Sherry?
I did not get a chance to deal with him. Echo's so loud.
What about you there, Echo?
I feel like I had opportunity to, at the very least, annoy and infuriate my rival.
Okay. So, yeah, that's a point. And I don't think you had a chance to, Rich, yet.
What?
Abyssinian.
Oh, yeah. That's right. You did. Oh,
right. Left and right.
No, for some reason I was
joke.
for some reason I thought it was. I remembered somebody else. No, that's perfect. Did you express your? So you get a mark in XP for that. Did you express your seeming or your kith, Sherry?
I think so. Multiple times.
Yeah, I think all of you expressed your seeming or your kith strongly. We got the good sense of the ogre. We got the echo. We got all your passions. Did you express your season, Sherry?
I think she lives and breathes her season. So yeah, fear. I think so.
Okay.
Definitely afraid of things, but also then because she's in some ways the flock does overdo that. So I don't know. How do you guys think?
I think that's fine myself.
Okay.
I think so.
I think so too. It was a very, at the very least, with the boat, it was a very sort of panicked. You said yourself, cacophony reaction, and then pushing Gray to act rather than be passive in this unknown situation.
And you expressed your season, I think, there, looking into the sorrow.
That's what I was going for, yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's a certain amount of joyfulness that you expressed, Gray.
Good.
I don't think anybody hit their humanity except for maybe Fade. I'll remember that when we come back to that. And nobody had to concede a conflict, so there's nothing from that. So if you got 5 XP, you gain in advance.
Close.
Or so close. All right.
4. Oh.
Well, thank you guys very much. Character creation always takes a while, but it gives me rich material to play from. So I appreciate your taking the chance on that.
I'm sorry / intrigued that most of us dove for like socially retreating characters or quiet characters, or oh my fucking god, I love Janie's repeats and echoes. Wow. It works so well.
Yeah. There are a couple moments there that killed me, so it was awesome. All right, I'm going to stop the broadcast.